Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a little bit different than a typical vlog because I'm actually serious today, and I'm going to be telling you everything about my personal finance and basically how I afford to live in downtown Toronto. Can you hear me? Sorry, there's some construction. How I literally live in downtown Toronto and afford it and still save money with unstable income as a server who doesn't make that much money, really. And before you think, why should I listen to you, Annika? Like, what do you know? I serve and spend time with finance bros for a living, and I've been able to save and invest over 6 figures, and I'm only 22. So here is what should be taught in schools but is not, and what I would tell any 18-year-old Canadian. Step 1 with having money is saving and then investing it. So let's start with the saving part. This may be common sense, but the number one thing is to live below your means. And you would be surprised, like, I have been getting so many DMs and messages like asking, like, how much money do you need to live comfortably in Toronto? Like, is $50,000
Bruh.
been getting messages like, oh, is $50,000 a year enough to live alone in Toronto? I've talked about this before, but ideally your rent should be no more than a third of what your monthly income is. Ideally it would be a quarter, but that's pretty impossible in a city like Toronto, so a good rule of thumb would be a third. So let's use the $5,000 a month income as an example. If you make $5,000 a month, third of that would be about $1,600 a month, so that would be ideally your maximum rent budget, which if you're going to live downtown, you would probably have to live with roommates in that case, but that is just the reality. Live below your means. With rent, with groceries and budgeting food, going out in Toronto can be crazy expensive, so learning how to do that in a more affordable way, or just spending time with your friends in places like parks or like common areas in the city. There's so many of those. You can bring your own food, bring your own drinks, and end up spending a quarter of what you usually would if you were to go out. Also, ultimately, cooking and making things like lattes at home unfortunately is significantly cheaper than buying things out or getting takeout or getting iced lattes like at coffee shops. This was a hard reality for me because the first few years that I lived here, I'm not gonna lie, I spent so much money at like grocery stores like Whole Foods, getting like prepackaged stuff. Like, my budgeting was not the best when I first moved here. I was even overpaying in rent significantly, but now I've learned, even with the cost of groceries, usually it's still much cheaper and much more affordable to cook your meals at home and meal prep and make lattes and coffees and whatever at home. That being said, of course, you can still go out the odd time. Like, you don't want to hate your life, because then what's even the point of living in the city? The other key with being able to save money, and this is something that I see like so many people, including my close friends, struggle with, is getting themselves into credit card debt or student loan debt. I understand student loan debt is pretty unavoidable. A lot of people want to get an education, and a lot of people can't afford to pay university tuition up front. I couldn't. I went to community college, which was a fraction of the cost of university, and that's why I don't have student loans. I 100% would have student loans if I went to university, but the cost is literally a huge factor as to why I chose not to go to university, which is kind of crazy, but it's true. And credit card debt. This is like so easy to get into. Obviously, with things like emergencies, of course you're going to use your credit card, but racking up credit card debt can really dig yourself into a deep hole. From what I've heard, seen, and experienced with people that I know, getting out of credit card debt can be extremely difficult, and that can be one sole thing that keeps you from being able to save money and get into a comfortable financial position. So if you can, I would try your hardest to stay out of debt, like credit card debt and student loans, things like that, car loans. I mean, of course, there's different situations and case scenarios where it's okay, but that's just my personal opinion. This is not advice. This is what has worked for me. So basically, to recap the saving part of having money, is stay out of debt if you can and live below your means. Literally just those two things. Next is investing, because you can have lots of savings, but if you just have it under your bed in cash or in a bank account, your money is not going to be doing anything for you. You do not want to have the majority of your money in your bank account. Investing is what is going to give you long-term financial independence and stability. And you do not need to be a Wall Street, Bay Street, finance executive, like CEO situation. I have no idea what anything means. I don't even know right from left. And I have investment accounts, okay? Having an RSP is great. That's a retirement savings plan, but have a TFSA. This is a tax-free savings account. I've talked about this before in videos. A tax-free savings account basically lets you invest in stocks and be able to keep 100% of your earnings from those stocks, meaning you don't get taxed on it. A tax-free savings account is basically an account that you buy stocks in. So your first step is to open a TFSA, which you can do through platforms like Questrade or Wealthsimple. Even a lot of banks will have a TFSA. Once you have that account open, then you can go into that account and purchase stocks through that account. I think the biggest reason people get scared to invest in the stock market is because they think they're gonna lose their money if something plummets. The reality is you will only lose your money if you sell at a loss, okay? So let's use me as an example. I first had a pretend stock trading account, which I think I had through Questrade. I have to double check, but I was like 15, 16, and you can have a pretend stock account. So you can trade stocks with fake money, like not your real money, and it allows you to get sort of a taste of how trading works. So I started doing that, and I put money into Hilton, which is the hotel. Mind you, this was before the COVID-19 pandemic. So it was a pretty steady, pretty safe stock, pretty safe company to invest in. And then the pandemic hit. And guess what? Hilton absolutely like hit the ground because there was lockdowns everywhere. No one was traveling. No one was staying in hotels unless they were quarantining. So the stock took a huge hit. But like a year or so later, when everything opened up again and everyone wanted to go out, travel, whatever, guess what? The stock all of a sudden was doing really well again. So the only way I would have actually lost my money is if I would have sold that stock when it was at a low. If I just leave it and wait until it goes back up again, I'm not losing anything. The stock market is like a wave, okay? It will always go up and down. There will always be highs and lows over time. It's never gonna go like, you're never just gonna be like, yup, I invested for 1 year and now I am a millionaire. That doesn't really work like that. It takes time and you have to ride out the waves, just like life. But over time, the trajectory of the stock market still is increasing, okay? Your money is still going to be ultimately increasing in value because of the dollar and just because of time and the way life works. Anyway, I think that's all I'm going to say in this video. I don't know if you guys even want to hear this kind of content. I am really interested in personal finance, and money is a huge passion and interest of mine. But I just hope this is helpful in any way, because like I said, I have been getting messages and comments about people even like wanting to move to Toronto, but they're not sure like if their budget is, you know, gonna be enough. Actually, now that I say that out loud, I think maybe I should make a video on like how much money you realistically need to afford to live in Toronto comfortably on your own, for example, / with roommates, etc. Although I think that like living below your means thing kind of maybe answered that. But as someone who's been living in Toronto for almost 5 years, I'm pretty familiar with exactly how much things cost. So I could pretty much explain exactly what to expect monthly, weekly, yearly, depending on your lifestyle, of course. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I will see you in the next vlog, and thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped someone, and if it didn't, I'm so sorry. See you next time. Bye.